US intelligence. Has the Australian government been pulling that information about Australians? Has it been pulling that information about Americans?
Back in the U.S. state of Maryland, two men believed to be FBI investigators were seen outside the home of Edward Snowden's mother in Ellicott City. They left when no one answered the door. Moments later, a woman identified by a U.S. TV network as Elizabeth Snowden left the home without making any comments. While holed up in a Hong Kong hotel room earlier, Snowden said his primary fear when he blew the whistle was that officials would target his family and friends. He also pined to be back in the U.S., but admitted that he may not see his home again. Emily Sue, ATV News.
Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying has met New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg on his first official overseas trip since he took office nearly a year ago.
They made no mention of Edward Snowden's case after the whistleblower surfaced in Hong Kong.
Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying, accompanied by Hong Kong officials, rang the closing bell at the New York Stock Exchange on the first day of his visit to the U.S. city. It was the chief executive's first official overseas visit since he took over Hong Kong's top job in July last year. But with all the media attention focused on whistleblower Edward Snowden, who surfaced in Hong Kong, Leung's meeting with New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg was postponed from the morning to the afternoon. The Snowden controversy had reportedly put pressure on the mayor's office, but Hong Kong officials were quoted as saying that Bloomberg had rescheduled the meeting because of an urgent assignment. When the pair finally met, they exchanged views on how both cities can work together to tackle environmental issues such as climate change. There was no mention of Snowden during the 40-minute exchange. Leung began his day with a breakfast meeting hosted by the Hong Kong Association in New York. He then met Seth Pinsky, the president of New York's Economic Development Corporation, to talk about enhancing cooperation. After a lunch hosted by Chinese Consul General Sun Guoxiang, the chief executive attended a board meeting of the New York Stock Exchange. Leung was scheduled to attend two events organized by the Hong Kong Trade Development Council and a lunch hosted by the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations before wrapping up his visit tomorrow. Arthur Rakula, ATV News.
The government is heading for a showdown with staff unions after the Executive Council approved pay rises of up to 3.2% for civil servants.
The unions are complaining the amount is too low and they're exploring different channels to challenge the government. Whether they like it or not, more than 170,000 civil servants will get a pay rise of between 2.55% and 3.2% backdated to April. That's after the Executive Council approved the increases proposed by the Pay Trend Survey Committee, the advisory body that helps the government determine pay adjustments for its workforce. It's a blow for civil service unions that have been complaining bitterly that the government's offer is too stingy and below the rate of inflation. Heading into the weekly cabinet meeting this morning, Acting Chief Executive Carrie Lam acknowledged the union's dismay, but insisted that EXCO had considered a basket of factors and not only the pay trend in the private sector. Some civil servants representatives have said the government only focused on the pay trend survey when deciding on the salary adjustment. She said, "This is untrue, as we've considered a basket of other factors." According to her, that includes the state of the economy, changes in the cost of living, the government's finances, the opinions of staff unions and civil service morale. Several staff unions have accused the administration of deviating from its own mechanism when working out the pay increases and ignoring factors such as morale and inflation. Lam also urged police and other disciplined services unions who have walked out of the Pay Trend Survey Committee to change their minds and rejoin the panel. Some of them, along with other unions, met Civil Service Secretary Paul Tang this afternoon to air their grievances. Philip Kwok, chairman of the Hong Kong Senior Government Officers Association, insisted that the administration did not follow the civil service pay adjustment mechanism fully.
The Senior Civil Service Council will jointly make a request to the Chief Executive to set up a committee of inquiry so as to carry out some sort of arbitration to settle this dispute.
Just yesterday, the Chinese Civil Servants Association threatened to challenge the government in court. Still to come on ATV's main news tonight. Fresh clashes erupt as Turkish police storm Istanbul's main square to evict protesters.
And Sony prices new PlayStation for $100 below Microsoft's new Xbox One.
Sparkling 25.